I apologise if the sound is a bit different. I haven't got my remote mic here which picks up sound better, but hopefully you'll hear me okay. So I've been back home for about a month now after having the brachytherapy at Moorfields, and I just wanted to go through a few things that are helping in my recovery process. And just a disclaimer that these are things that are helpful for me. I'm not saying that these are absolutely going to be helpful for you, or that if you don't find them helpful, there's something wrong with you. We're all different, but these are the things that I'm using to help me both physically and psychologically during this recovery and adjustment period. And I will say that for me, there's no prescribed timeline or time frame for adjusting to a diagnosis of cancer, whatever type it may be. In some ways I feel maybe the adjustment will be ongoing for a long time or lifelong, because I don't know how life can ever be the same after a cancer diagnosis. But anyway, let's get into the tips. The first one may sound obvious, but I was very strict about adhering to the medication regime that they left me with Moorfields. So I had 3 sets of eye drops I needed to apply 4 times a day. One was an antibiotic, one was a drop to dilate the pupil, which I was told was a painkiller, and it also relaxed the muscle, which I suspect is what helped with pain. It just relaxed the eye muscles, and also a anti-inflammatory eye drop. As at this day, because I'm a month out, I've now finished the antibiotics and the dilating drops, and I'm still on the anti-inflammatory drops. I think I've got 3 more days on those. My eye is healing pretty well. On the right side of my right eye, there's still a bit of redness, and also if there is still redness at the top, but otherwise it looks pretty okay. I've had no problems in terms of infections or anything by following the drops and keeping the eye clean and following good hand hygiene. Also, when you come out of hospital, you may get given a protective eye shield. I had to wear it for 2 days after coming out of hospital, and then I had to wear it at night when I went to bed for 2 weeks, which I did. It felt really weird the first night I didn't wear it. I must admit, I felt really vulnerable with my eye exposed, but I've gotten used to that, so that's all been fine as well. And wearing it in the shower, trying not to get my eye wet when I wash my hair, that's been absolutely fine as well. But just really being careful with your eye has been helpful. The next tip as well is not to strain the eye too much, so trying not to use screens too much. My husband bought me a tablet for when I went into hospital, and mainly when I was in hospital I used it for listening to music because I just didn't have the concentration to watch anything. Although I did watch some things on the tablet and my eye was okay. When I've had to go onto my laptop, when I've needed to sort of fill in some documents and stuff to send to my GP, I've had to go on my laptop for that. I've struggled with my laptop. I don't know if it's because the general brightness of the laptop is more than a tablet. Even when I turn the brightness down on the laptop, it feels uncomfortable sight-wise. So I've generally, where I can, stuck to the tablet. I am listening to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of the videos that I watch, if you like, on YouTube, I can listen to them. I don't need to watch them per se, but I am watching some videos and generally that seems okay. But if my eye does start to ache, I'll switch on to something that I can just listen to. But I do try and listen to things as well because it's nice to just relax on the sofa and lie back and listen to stuff, and if I need to, just drift off to sleep. And that brings me on to the next one, is sleep when you need to. I have felt really fatigued. I slept a lot in hospital when I had the plaque in, which people said would likely happen. You feel very fatigued. But when I came home, I didn't expect to feel as fatigued. And, you know, in case you don't know, I'm a psychologist by profession. And it's really ironic that the things that I would speak to my clients about, they've just sort of gone out the window with like being able to apply them to myself. I think when you're in the middle of something yourself, often you forget the things that you kind of know. When I spoke to the psychologist from the Ocular Melanoma UK, she said to me, look, worrying and anxiety, that is really tiring to have all of that worry. And I'd totally forgotten all that, and that really helped to explain to me why I was so fatigued with all of this. Just the anxiety of the future, worrying about, well, what happens next, and also just the pace at which things happened and not really being able to process it all until I came out of hospital, because everything happened really quickly. There wasn't time to process it mentally, and I just had to really almost like bury it and put it to one side and get through it. It was only sort of before Christmas / New Year that I really started to process it mentally and think about it in that kind of more, really feeling the impact of it. And yeah, that has left me really tired some days, and I'm someone who does struggle to look after myself and listen to my body, but this is really teaching me to do that, to listen, to not question, oh, why am I so tired, but just accept this is why you're tired and you need to sleep. At night, there are times where I do have trouble getting to sleep because I'm worrying about things. There are other nights where I do fall asleep quite quickly, and generally I'm sleeping longer than I ever used to, likely because my body needs it. In sort of opposite of resting when you need to, I would say move when you feel able to as well. For some days after I came home from hospital, I was sitting on the sofa, sleeping, snoozing, not doing a lot, which that's fine, but I was a pretty active person before I went into hospital, and I was missing moving my body. So when we did finally sort of start going out, and I went out with my husband for some short walks, I'd have to hold on to him, and I still do sometimes, because if I patch my eye it's not too bad, but if I don't, which is rare because I kind of want to protect it from the elements, but if I don't, then I can't walk and look up at the same time because my vision is just not, it's like my eye's not adjusting quickly enough, it's not focusing quickly enough, and it can become quite disorienting. So walking with my husband was like nice, but it was very tricky. What I did do, and I know not everyone's in a position to do this, I invested in a treadmill, and I'm not running on it, I'm walking on it. So I did initially think about getting a walking pad, but then I knew inside that I would probably end up wanting to jog on it at some point. So I got myself a treadmill. Thankfully I'm able to pay in installments, so it's more affordable that way, and it's been a real blessing, to be honest, because it means I can walk on the treadmill and I'm not having to look around me and worry about obstacles. I can put my headphones in and listen to a podcast or a bit of music, and again, not worry about running into people, cars and things like that. What helps is that I can just focus on the screen on the treadmill, and that is where my eye would naturally focus anyway when I'm out walking. It kind of focuses just sort of down just in front of me because I can't look up. Even on the treadmill, if I've tried to look up, it feels disorienting. So I just look at the screen on the treadmill and I'm absolutely fine. So I do some steady walks on the treadmill now every day just to keep my body moving, because that helps me. I didn't do that straight away. I think I was probably back home maybe about a couple of weeks before I got the treadmill. And at that point I was like, is doing my mental health more harm than good to not be able to get some exercise where I feel I'm actually in a momentum? But equally, I've not been forcing it. So if you feel able to move and it feels good, then by all means do it, but I wouldn't force it. If you feel too tired and fatigued, don't push your body to do things that it doesn't want to do. And that's where I'm having to listen to my body. There are some days where I do a slower pace on the treadmill than perhaps I would on other days where I feel better. And there have been times where maybe I've done one session on the treadmill but not the other. So I try and do a half an hour walk on the treadmill in the morning and then later on in the evening. But there are times where I've not done both because I've just not felt physically able to. And I'm trying to be kind to myself and say, that's okay, you just need to listen to your body. But for me, moving my body helps me to feel more grounded in my body, and that's what I think I've really struggled with since the diagnosis, is feeling, I think I've mentioned before, feeling like I'm in free fall, trying to grab a hold of something and feeling like I'm just falling in midair and not getting a foothold. Doing the walking where I can get into a decent pace on the treadmill has been really helpful. So for me, the treadmill was a really good investment, because at the moment I can't lift weights. I'm not going to be able to go back to lifting weights in the way that I used to. I used to lift really heavy, and I'm not going to be able to go back to doing that now because of the amount of pressure it creates in the body. So I've spoken to my weightlifting coach, and he's going to think about how we can start things back gently, but also as we build up, to think about ways that are going to be safe. It's all about listening to your body, I think. Moving when you feel able to, moving in ways that make you feel good, but not pushing yourself too hard. Another thing which helped me, which might seem really small, is showering and getting dressed. So for the first couple of days that I came home, I just stayed in my pyjamas, which was fine. But then after the second day, I felt like just having a shower and getting dressed in everyday clothes would help me feel better. It would give me a sense of just a routine and of, okay, I'm ready for the day, even if after showering and getting dressed I sat on the sofa, which is what I did for a lot of the time. But just showering and getting dressed, it did help me feel better. It was really hard though. After I'd get out of the shower and get dressed, I felt so tired. And that's why I'd just come down and sit on the sofa. I was just wiped out. Again, I'm not saying that you should do this, but for me, that was something I did because I felt ready to do it, even though I thought, all right, I'm going to have to take my time and go slow. Because again, it was quite disorienting in the shower, trying to have a shower when you've got your eye covered and yeah, you feel a bit wobbly, but I just took my time. The next tip I would give is to eat well. I like to think that I'm quite a healthy person with my diet anyway. And when I say eat well, I don't mean you just stick with quote unquote healthy foods, salads, all of that stuff. I don't think we should label foods naughty or treats or, versus healthy, clean, pure foods. But, the things where maybe people demonize them, it's about allowing those things in your diet as well. It's things in moderation, isn't it? I've kind of been just focusing more on looking after my body more generally and nourishing it properly. And that includes allowing myself those nice things rather than feeling guilty over eating them, which perhaps I did do before. I guess with the diagnosis, for me, has come this sense of, life is too short to not have that bit of cake. Like when the time comes for me to say goodbye, whenever that may be, am I really going to lay there and be going, oh, I really wish I hadn't had that bit of chocolate or that cake back in 2025? I'm not. So trying to savor those moments where we have the opportunities for those nice things and enjoying them. I would also say drinking more water. I haven't been very good at drinking water in the past. When I was in hospital, I did try and drink more water. And since I've been home, I've tried to make sure that I have a pint of water at the beginning of the day and then throughout the day as well, just because I think that's all part of the healing process. I think that's helpful. So I've been trying to focus on just taking better care of my body. Not that I think I was abusing it before, but just being kinder to it generally, which I guess feeds into the exercise and rest aspect. One of the most important things that I've struggled with the most, and I'm still struggling with, but I think is really important for recovery and this adjustment process, is trying to focus on the here and now and not get caught up in the what ifs and the future stuff too much. I had a conversation with someone from the OCULAR Melanoma UK, the helpline, and I've been really pushing for having surveillance scans. I'm still sort of having conversations around that. Because of my tumour being how it is, it's really small and there's no evidence that it's spread. However, I'm not happy at the prospect of never having surveillance scans. I couldn't live life without that. It would just play on my mind so much it would affect my mental well-being. So that is, I'm trying to work through that, but I've noticed that I've been really focusing in on that and holding on to that. And I think what I need to do is just focus on where I'm at now. It's not like I'm going to let that go or forget about it. But also at the same time, I think the tight focus on that and me trying to hold on to that is coming from a place of fear. I'm almost like responding as if I'm in a place of imminent, like I'm going to die any moment or this is going to spread at any moment. And objectively, there is no evidence that that has happened. And if I was in a category where they were concerned about it spreading, they would have had me scanned by now. There are other people I'm aware of who they are in a higher risk category and they are having their scans. I'm not. And so I need to focus on my recovery, focus on resting, doing what I need to do to help me adjust psychologically. And I know that will be an ongoing long-term process, but not getting so caught up in the what ifs and the future stuff that it makes me unwell. And I think that's what it has been doing. I've been getting so stressed about people are going to forget about me and I'm just going to be left to deal with this on my own. And the bottom line is I'm not going to allow that to happen anyway. I'm going to push for what I need. So with that in mind, I need to give myself a chance to breathe and adjust to this. And so I think trying to stay in the here and now for anybody is important, because I guess it's that taking each day at a time and not thinking too far ahead, because the imagination is great at thinking worst case scenarios and making us think the worst about things, whereas we're not. in that place. We're not in the future. We are where we are here. And also because when we don't focus on the here and now, we miss the good bits. We miss those special moments, the time that we spend with our loved ones. When I do take the time to just breathe and look at what I do have around me, my husband, my dog, I appreciate those things when I take the time to focus on them. But I think these past few months, my mind has just been such a whirlwind of what all of this means and the what ifs, that it's taken me away from the present and being able to enjoy that. As hard as it is, I do think it's important to try and do that as well. So those are just some of the tips that are helping me. Please feel free to let me know in the comments if you've got tips that I haven't mentioned that you find are helping you with your cancer diagnosis and your processing of the diagnosis, how you're managing it. I'd love to hear from you. It'd be good if we can share some tips to help one another. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.